Death Metal Legends of the Dark Knights issue 1 sees the Batman Who Laughs brain put in the body of a Dr. Manhattan, knowing that he knows what the men in front of him will say before they even say it. He knows he's not the one who laughs anymore and just needs to figure out what he is. He remembers before all of it, he was simply the Batman, a hero who trained for years after his parents were murdered to become a hero, embracing the bat that had haunted his youth and used it to become a caped crusader. But soon the dark multiverse deviated his story when the Joker finally pushed him too far, turning him and causing him to become the next Joker thanks to a toxin in his system, which in turn caused him to kill the heroes of his world and become the apex predator, the Batman Who Laughs. As the villain, he was approached by Barbatos, leading him to invade the true multiverse in a bid to make the dark multiverse more than just a dream, planning on dragging the multiverse down into the dark and destroying it, replacing it with a twisted version of itself. The heroes of Earth Zero fought back, however, and beat him, but not long after, he saw Barbatos was merely part of a cosmic hierarchy, which freed Perpetua, mother of the multiverse, who the Batman Who Laughs allied with, turning on Lex Luthor and giving birth to his own universe of darkness. But soon, Wonder Woman, using her newly acquired invisible chainsaw, killed him. Luckily, sometime before, while the being was still the Batman Who Laughs, he traveled to an Earth where a Bruce Wayne encountered an energy tied to a strange button from another universe, an energy which he tried to replicate, which the villain watched unfold, activating the machine when Bruce went in to check it, obliterating that Bruce. But in the months that followed, he returned with the power. The villain quickly lobotomized this Bruce, taking the body for himself in case he needed it. In the present, the Batman Who Laughs' new body expands its awareness to take on its final form, reaching out into the dark multiverse and feeling all of the worlds, pulling all aspects from the twisted Batman there to himself, making himself a culmination of human evil and a cosmic weapon of infinite power. The being begins exploring all of the Batman in his own way, becoming each of them, knowing it's similar to when he traveled the world when he was young, training to become Batman. Soon he has a revelation that Batman has always been a reactionary idea, and he was born in response to those gunshots in an alley. He knows he's now more than that and not just a reaction. He needs to be the one who creates reaction. So he needs to be the bullet, and the dark multiverse will be the alley, and the worlds inhabiting the dark multiverse will be Martha Wayne's pearls. With his first taste of cosmic awareness, the Darkest Knight knows that he will take Wally West's Manhattan powers, using them to create his own multiverse, a multiverse that laughs. The Darkest Knight awakens on the operating table, letting out one single word: bang. Elsewhere in the dark multiverse, Alfred Pennyworth records a journal on the late Master Wayne's medical recorder, not believing that the Wayne Manor is now a battleground, and it sickens him that the true enemy was himself, since he ignored every omen and sign, all because Bruce Wayne was his boy as well, and he was the only one able to subdue him briefly. But his efforts were in vain, and he wanted to leave something behind to warn Gotham of its mad prince. He recounts how it was always like this, as Bruce as a baby was rather violent, which grew as he did, leading to him finding joy in the pain and chaos he caused, whether it be from microwaving cats, pushing painters off of ladders, or bisecting bats. It all culminated in the night the Waynes went to the Monarch Theatre. Alfred waits outside for them but is told to move on by Officer James Gordon, who says he can't park there. Alfred moves the car as the Waynes come out, with Thomas knowing Alfred would have had to have moved the car anyway. Bruce's anger at the movie was in black and white, and all the blood looked fake as his parents head down the alley, where Joe Chill confronts them, demanding their money and pearls. Bruce admires his choice of gun, attacking Joe with his flick knife, killing the man violently and picking up the gun, shooting his parents before returning the gun to Joe's dead hand, acting like the man killed his parents to the arriving police. Later on, Alfred knows that Bruce never said what happened in the alley, but he knew, and he knew he had to stop the psycho young man. Bruce is eager to get all his parents' assets as James Gordon appears at the door, saying that he was the first cop on the scene, and at the time, some strange files appeared on his phone. So with the help of his daughter, he decrypted them, and if what they said about Bruce is true, then they need to stop him. Alfred knows it's all true, as suddenly Gordon is killed by a crossbow bolt fired by Bruce. In the present, Alfred finishes his journal entry, saying the boy should have been knocked out by now, but Bruce, in a new costume, arrives, grabbing the bust of his father and thanking Alfred for protecting him until he was ready. He beats Alfred's head in, taking a seat and ringing the dinner bell, saying that that sound is the sound of the Robin King, and a new spring is coming. On another dark world, Arkham Asylum was destroyed, with Commissioner Barbara Gordon killed and the villains taking to the streets. An elderly Batman watches the carnage unfold as the new Batman, Damian, comes to see his father, asking if he's watching to see how much he failed at being Batman and his son. Bruce says that Damian is a big boy now and he can tell him the truth if he wants, but Damian knows that it's more about him just not being like Dick or Jason or Barbara. But Bruce says that he doesn't have to be, since he's not getting the job done, and while he can't wear this suit anymore, he can still help. He retrieves an ancient book from his library, talking about an ancient cult that worshipped a bat god, whom they would sacrifice to, and the more love of the sacrifice, the greater the reward, and the sacrifice's blood would seep into the land that Gotham was built on. Damian thinks that Bruce wants him to conduct the ritual, but then he understands what his father means, as Bruce says that he never should have laid that burden on his son, and it's his fault. Bruce stabs Damian with a ritual knife, killing him and saying that together they will make this right. Drawing a ritual bat symbol on the ground in his own blood, Bruce walks into it, and into the hellfire, consumed by it as the ritual turns Bruce Wayne into Gotham City, whose ground erupts, swallowing the criminals and filth littering the streets. Elsewhere, a Batman society begins running out of gas, and knowing that he needed to be their leader, he uploads himself into every piece of technology that ran the world, taking control over everything and everyone. But the people soon revolted against their Bat overlord, who fought the people but was soon wiped from the planet, both in digital and physical form, all except for one monster truck, who rides off into the desolate wastes of an Earth, intent on rising again. Elsewhere in the dark multiverse, a Batman's body has died, with his mind uploading to a genetically superior human body he has been growing, knowing the Batman of 2 lifetimes will be unstoppable. Something, however, goes wrong in the process, and Bruce is spat out of the machine as just a baby with his adult mind. Because of this, the baby Batman is uncoordinated, causing him to tumble down the stairs. He tries to stand, but his head is too heavy for his young body to lift. With nothing to do but to squirm around on the cold floor of the Batcave, he knows this is merely just a speed bump, and he will not give up, since he is the guardian of Gotham. But all the nightmare nemesis of the Joker can do now is to cry. Death Metal Legends of the Dark Knights issue 1 was a really fun collection of dark multiverse stories expanding on the various Dark Knights seen throughout the Death Metal book, as well as the origin of Dr. Bat Hatton, the Batman Who Laughs new form, and how his view of the multiverse is formed, as well as how he sees himself as a Batman. The idea of him being the bullet instead of the reaction to the bullet as becoming Batman is genius, and it gives a character who was wearing pretty thin, I think for a lot of people, some much needed revitalization. The other stories were all really great as well, the Robin Prince one being a highlight. Same with the Batman who is literally a Gotham City, and to become that he had to sacrifice what he loved the most, his son. The T-Rex one was a bit strange, since yes, it's a new story to take place of the Warren Ellis one, which after all that stuff came out about him was kind of scrapped. So Marguerite Bennett took his place with a story that was literally 1 page with no explanation at all. So I'm not sure really why that was in there. I guess they kind of promised that they'd have a Bat T-Rex story in there, but really wasn't necessary, and was kind of a real speed bump in the story that leaves you kind of going, oh, that's it? That's the whole story? Like, where is his origin story? I'm going to give this issue an 8.5 out of 10.